It's May 28th and I should have these tomatoes in soon. I have extra of the seedlings, some extra kale that I can replace some of the others that in the garden that were eaten by rabbits. Poppies are doing fine, and there's poppies in the garden. And here are some cooking onions that are doing quite well, and these can go in any time. It's June 1st in Zone 6, and I just wanted to take note of the black walnut flowers. I'm not sure if they're called flowers. The white oak got some damage last year from squirrels eating the buds of the leaves, but seems to be coming back, and these look like maybe they're flowers for producing acorns. Tulips have faded, and now we've got some kind of maybe alum. I'm not sure what these are. These might be iris starting to come out. Chives are flowering, which makes it more difficult to get the chives for your potatoes or whatever you can put them on. But you can still get some. I believe these are hosta. Or hostas. Wild woodbine grape is starting to bud. A rocket weed. I'm going to check. They might be also. They also might be called fireweed. In which case, I'd be interested because you can make an oil for raising the kundalini with fireweed. I'll check. Lovely patch of yarrow. Chestnut tree is in bloom. The strawberries are doing well so far. And right here I've planted some cucumbers and also watermelon. Here's all the beans that I've planted here. And my brother's planted some herbs in this area, and looks like some peas. Here's my carrot, second year carrots coming up. There's 3 that made it. Others were eaten by rabbits, but probably we have enough to get seed. The beets that I planted, they didn't come up. Something must have gotten to them. I'll check, dig them up later. Kale is doing good. Radishes, second row of peas here. First row of peas. Opium poppy, some romaine lettuce. Spinach is coming up, parsley, carrots need to be thinned, the salsify needs to be thinned, cabbages are all replaced and planted. Something was nipping them off, but I've replaced them, and so every spot has a cabbage. Beets coming up here. There, and lettuce here, and my tomatoes, I got them in, so the geese actually came and nipped a few of the tomato plants off, so I've had plenty to replace them. This horseradish. And here we've got field. Interesting that the city or the municipality, I guess, has designated this whole farm. They've marked it off, plus part of this property, for designated it for development. There's a meeting coming up. I guess they're gonna try to get it from this farmer, but he's not going to give up easy. He's got another generation wants to farm this land. I just wish they would farm it properly and be able to feed the community that's developing around it, rather than be in the pocket of these corporations and the government. There's a perennial celery that you can make Maggi out of, which is sort of like soy sauce. I'm not remembering what this is called right now. Comfrey here and there, very valuable soil development. You don't want it in your main garden because it's hard to get rid of once it's there, and it'll spread. You're saving seed for lettuce. You don't want any wild lettuce here. You don't want the wild lettuce going to be flowering when your other lettuce is flowering. But wild lettuce is actually valuable for the milk. Apparently this white milk here is good for painkiller. And this curly dock is maturing, starting to form its seeds. But still the leaves would be good for liver spleen cleanse. I believe these vines that look like cucumbers, I believe these are ultimately mad apple, a hallucinogen, and probably just make you sick though. Catnip is still good to harvest. This looks like an old asparagus plant that's still coming up. And whatever this blooming bush is can be propagated just by the stem. I still have some cooking onions to plant, but around the beans here I have put some of them in already, giving them some space to grow. This looks like Virginia creeper. I have that up in zone 4 as well. This is zone 6. And I think these cattails are still good to pull and eat. Yes, they are. Looks like jewelweed. Jewelweed. If it is, it'll have an orange flower, and there's some medicinal properties for this. Not sure what kind of flower or bush that is, but that's very nice. And we have, what are these called again? I should know. Yeah, lilac. Lilac. They're out in full bloom now. Smell lovely. It's been a very, very wet year. Even Lake Ontario is flooding up on its shores and onto the roads there by the shore. And well, those are the pears. The pears are starting. There were other pear trees in this field, but the flooding actually killed them. So I'm hoping these will be saved. Nice thistles on the property. I'm not sure. I don't know the value of every herb, but there might be something good about the thistle. I believe these are peony that are just starting to bud. And the Johnny Jump Ups are still jumping up. Cultivated grapes are starting to bud. And some of the apples are beginning to form. Earlier, some later. And here's a Macintosh. My favorite. One seems to have bit the dust for some reason, but still a little bit of life, and sometimes you can graft to make new trees if you're losing one. There's always the ever available plantain, old chamomile, and the ever available dandelion. It's June 21st, the summer solstice. I thought I'd just do a little tour. I just wanted to take a look at the pear trees and see how the pears are doing. A little bit of marks on them. Let's see where this tree is doing very well. They look nice and healthy. Some of the trees are doing better than others. But all in all, I think we should have a good year for pears. The old pear trees are at risk because of all the water we've had this spring. And they haven't really been pruned a lot, but still they produce. There's some wild chamomile out in the field. They can grow on not really good soil. They can still grow on it. Here I see some all heal. We have a lot of wild lettuce around. And it is this, the milk in this that is good for pain relief. I'm gonna find out how. I think you just dry it and use it as a tea. I believe this bush is called Prince Rupert. It's a beautiful red bloom. A friend showed me some edible mushrooms under this tree. Maybe they're there still. I'm not sure. Oh, he must have eaten them, but there were, looks like a new batch coming up here. I even tried it, and I didn't die. I've had a few strawberries. There's been some activity around here of people, so these need to be protected too from the birds. So I've just in a makeshift kind of a way. Better to make one out of chicken wire, I guess, in a frame situation, because the birds will get them definitely if you don't protect them. These cucumbers are coming up, and the beans, different kinds of beans. Could be pinto, a couple of dried sorts of beans, and then here's yellow or green beans, I'm not sure. I planted potatoes up north, but there were some down here that I planted as well. I'll hill those up pretty soon. These little onions, cooking onions, they seem to have caught on fine. So I've planted them there. There's dill coming up here that my brother planted. These are all cooking onions. He's going to have to separate them. These are the second year carrots. I had planted them in. Some of them got eaten on the top, but some of them survived. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll produce little flowers and then seed, as long as I can protect it from the wild carrot, which is the Queen Anne's lace. I'll try to make sure there's not much of that growing, or I can somehow cover these to keep them pure seed. The kale is recovering, even though the rabbits were eating away at it. It's growing nice, and some of them will survive, it looks like. The radishes are seeding, but there's more radishes here. There's poppies coming up. Now the rabbits ate the peas right off the tops, right off of them. So they were a loss. And I thought, well, I'm just going to plant these cooking onions right in the manure, right in the bag of manure. Sometimes you make those kind of decisions. There's some romaine lettuce happening here that I've thinned out a bit. If I didn't, the snails probably would. That's how nature works. And I've leftover tomatoes that didn't get in the first time. I've planted here and there on the areas where it's been where other crops have failed. Here's parsley. It's caught on nicely. For tomatoes, the carrots are spaced And looks like the salsify might even survive after being nipped off the top. I should thin those once I see that they're going to go. Salsify. The cabbages are iffy. Some of them might survive. They've been nipped a little bit by, but they might. Seems like the rabbit eating it is, or the rabbits are slowing down. Yeah, this one's ruined, but we'll see how many will survive. But I'm just really pleased about. There is some lettuce, even though the lettuce has been being eaten by the rabbits. But the tomato plants are doing great. Just want to show you the little chestnuts that are forming. Chestnuts. Did notice flowers on these walnut trees, and looks like we got walnuts here. We have a whole row of black walnut trees. A lot of catnip for the picking. Here's a very important plant for the garden is the comfrey, although again, don't plant it right in your garden, it will spread. But it's great for the comfrey tea and as mulch to feed the soil. We got some kind of a little bug on the top of here. Wild rose, I believe this is. More comfrey. This is a wild celery here. I forget what it's called again. The bees love these bumblebees love this comfrey flowers. And it's nice to have sort of wild, unkept areas. Here's horseradish. Currant bushes they've got some currants. Even some are ripening a bit. There's a gooseberry bush. And there's a gooseberry. Gooseberry. They're not ripe yet. Won't be long. The sumac is starting to produce the flowers. They're not red yet, but as soon as they turn red, it's a good time to pick them for tea. Nice and high in vitamin C. The local woodbine, the wild woodbine grape. There's mullein here and there. Evening primrose, still edible. See, here's the Queen Anne's lace that I'm gonna have to keep an eye on so it won't cross with the carrots. This is curly dock, a valuable herb as well, going to seed. Yarrow, starting to bloom. A lot of nitrogen fixing duckweed in the pond. A lot more than I can grow up north in my pond. Here it is close up. Here's a second-year burdock. Ooh, there's aphids on there, but no problem. Nature takes care of those things pretty good. And then there's a lot of first-year burdock. You can eat the burdock root. Jewel weed is still growing, hasn't flowered yet. And fireweed, or the rocket flower, is finished flowering pretty much. Apparently the rocket flower or the fireweed can also be used in its young shoots like asparagus. Seeing fleabane here and there, fleabane. I haven't tried fleabane yet in the nests of chickens for helping to repel fleas. I'm not sure if this works. The juice of this plantain is good for mosquito bites, take the itch away. And this and a number of different greens make a good food for turtle. Hey guy, try some of this. Cultivated grapes. They're still small. This is probably a Concord grape variety. And the apples are at various stages of development depending on the tree. This is the Macintosh. It's doing okay, I guess. Every apple trees, they tend to have good years and not so good years, or better cycles than a rest. And standard size or the larger size will last a lot longer and live a lot longer than what we got here. Live a lot longer than oh, there was a bird or something in there that's flitting around. But the standard size, the larger ones, they'll last you years and years, where the apparently the grafted and smaller size ones don't last as long. Of course, some just die off. So this is the end of my tour for now on June 21st, 2017.